and welcome back to my doll collecting channel. Today I have a highly anticipated video which is comparing different generations of Maplelea girl dolls, comparing them, showing you all the changes throughout the years and how to identify the different characters. Essentially, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things in this video, and hopefully you'll learn some things about Maplelea girl dolls. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's start off this video with the most drastic change, in my opinion, between Maplelea doll characters, and that is between Leoni dolls. So the doll in the dark red outfit is a 2021 version of the Leoni doll, and she was gifted to me from Maplelea for the purposes of a video review, which you can still watch that review on my channel. I filmed an unboxing and a vlog type video for her. So if you want to watch that video that I did with Maplelea, make sure to check that out. The link will be in my description and it is still on my channel. So if you were to order from Maplelea right now, this is what the doll would look like. Now the doll on the right is a first generation Leoni doll, and I ordered her off of Facebook Marketplace specifically for the purpose of this video, so I can show you all the differences and sometimes the drastic differences between an older Maplelea doll and the newer Maplelea dolls. On the back of the neck of your Maplelea doll, you're going to see 2 years. Now, the year that doesn't have the darker ink on it is the first year that the Maplelea character was created. So this doll says 2008-1. So if you have a doll that says 2008-1 of Leoni, that means, and you don't have any other year, that means you have a first generation. The second year that has a darker ink, and this one says 2022-17, so I guess I misspoke earlier. So this is a 2022 doll, and she is the 17th version of this character. Now if you see with this doll, there is no second year, there's just the first year, which says 2008-1. This means it's a first edition. Also, what you'll notice is there is a logo on the back, CG, which stands for Canadian Girl, and you might see, depending on the doll, a little trademark that says Avonlea Traditions, which was the original parent company of Maplelea Girls. Now, without me pointing out any details, most people would see a difference between the newer Leoni and the older Leoni. Even if you couldn't articulate why, I think you can see enough of a difference. One thing I noticed right away is the difference in eye color. They both have hazel eyes, but the newer Leoni has a little bit more of a brown undertone. It's still hazel, so it still has a little bit of greeny yellow in it. But the older Leoni doll definitely has a little bit more yellow and green. However, I'm going to point this out a few times in this video because I'm going to be showing many of my Maplelea dolls and their different generations and comparing a lot of different dolls. The Maplelea dolls, especially the older ones, their eye colors sometimes change with age. So I don't know if this is the color that Leoni's eyes originally were, or if they have changed and become lighter over time. However, I have noticed that Maplelea did fix this problem, especially when we get into Taran dolls. Taran dolls had brown eyes, but some of the older versions turned to red with age. However, dolls that are later don't tend to have this problem. I also think the face shape is different. The older Leoni has a much rounder face, and I feel like her eyes go in more. They feel kind of more sunken into her face. And I've seen this with a lot of different generations of Leoni dolls. Especially the first and second editions. Now, I don't own a second edition Leoni, I only own this first edition, but I do think that this is a distinct feature of an earlier Leoni doll. I think that their lip shape and their eyebrow shape is fairly similar to each other. However, the newer Leoni has a different lip color. Again, that could be with age. However, there is a difference in their makeup as well. I do feel like even though the Leoni doll that is older, her hair is not in the best condition, and she is much older, so that leads into the hair a little bit being the way that it is. This doll is from 2008, so that is about like 15 years ago at least. But I do see that the hair is not a solid one color. It does have different streaks in it. I see some lighter blonde, some darker blonde, maybe even a teeny bit of red. And I see that in both dolls. Both dolls have not just one solid color, but lots of different colors in the hair to give it a little bit more dimension and make it look a little higher quality. Another big difference I noticed between the newer Leoni doll and the older Leoni doll is that they have different colors of torso, and they do have slightly different skin tones for their limbs and their faces. However, with the older Leoni doll, it could be just age. But then again, these dolls have many years difference between them, so of course there's going to be changes progressively over time. As you can tell with the older Leoni, she definitely has more of a white torso. It isn't like pure white, it's probably more of an off-white, more of a cream color, while the newer Leoni has a darker torso closer to her limbs. So that is just one difference between the two dolls. However, their hand shape is the same. You have one hand which has like this larger scoop, and this other hand which has like this smaller kind of scoop. That is because there's accessories you can buy for your Maplelea doll that they can hold. One trick you can do with your Maplelea dolls is make them hold their hands. So this adds a little bit more poses to the doll. You can make them hold something or just for photography. So both of the dolls, both the new and the old edition, do this. I think that's all I want to say about these Leoni dolls, but I do have a lot of dolls in my collection that I kind of want to show some comparisons between characters, but then also as the years progress. So, you know what, I'm going to show you a difference between two Taran dolls that I have. So these are two different Taran dolls. So the one wearing the red plaid is a 2007-6, meaning she is from the year 2000 and she was the 6th version of this doll. Then we also have in the gray vest, we have a 2010-10, meaning she is from the year 2010 and the 10th batch of the doll. So the reason I wanted to show these two dolls is because there's only a 3-year difference between the dolls. But there is some significant differences between them. So both of these dolls have red eyes. Originally they were brown eyes, but with time they have faded to red. However, I have talked to a few different collectors and they've said I've had older dolls and they haven't turned red. I've had someone say that they've had a doll from 2017 and their eyes haven't turned red. So between the span of 2010 and 2017, there was a fix in these Taran dolls, so their eyes didn't turn red with time. I accidentally might have started a trend by calling these vampire eyes in a Maplelea Facebook group because I was trying to describe the type of red these dolls have, and it kind of stuck. But just like other doll brands, like American Girl has the classic silver eye defect, and some of those dolls can be highly collectible. I do think the same thing might happen with Maplelea Girl dolls, so if you have these dolls, you might want to hold on to them because the defect might be valuable later. Key difference. So the one wearing the plaid is the older doll from 2007. The one wearing the gray vest or the green vest is from 2010. They both have red eyes. However, the one from 2007 is more pale and has a lighter complexion, and her face paint and her lips and her cheeks are a little bit more orange, and she doesn't have as dramatic of cheek makeup like blush as the doll from 2010. The doll from 2010 has a little bit more of a brown lips, and it's more glossy, and there is more of a blush going on in their cheeks. However, they have very similar eyebrows to each other, and the eye socket shape looks the same. Their nose, their lips, I mean, they're both Taran dolls, so they have the same face mold. But other than that, the makeup and the skin tone are the two main differences between these dolls. But I wanted to show that even a 3-year difference can have a difference between the doll you would receive. Now, moving on to one of the most popular characters from Maplelea, I find that Sila is one of the more popular characters, especially amongst American collectors, because she is a Inuit doll, meaning that she's an indigenous character that lives in Canada's Arctic. So she has a really unique backstory. Also, she is a really beautiful doll. The doll wearing the blue sweater with the fuzz around it, the feathers, is a newer doll, a 2017-6, and the doll wearing the blue vest, the navy blue vest, is a first generation Sila doll, and her code is 2011-1. Now, I found the doll in the navy blue vest just a few days ago at the thrift store, so her hair is cut, but I don't notice major differences between these dolls. But I do think that the older Sila doll has this appearance of having like a softer skin, like a softer vinyl, which is really nice and it is very cute. But other than that, I don't notice very many major differences between the dolls. However, the first edition doll does have a lot of scratches because she was bought used, but she was only like $6 at the thrift store. And of course, I'm not gonna leave her behind. So now I have 2 Silas in my collection. Sila is a harder doll to find on the secondhand market. So if you really have your heart set on a Sila doll, make sure you order her soon because she tends to sell out quickly. Both of these dolls are from 2007. They are different characters. The doll in the pink is a Brienne, and she is a 2007-4. And the Taran doll in the red plaid is a 2007-6. So as you can tell, they didn't come up with new batches for each character for every year. So by 2007, there was only 4 different versions of Brienne and 6 different versions of Taran. And I think there is some years where there is more than one batch. So just because you have 2 dolls from the same year doesn't mean they have the same batch of dolls. So you can see a little bit of difference between these 2 dolls. The Taran doll looks a little more pale, however they both look very pale, but they both have more of an orange lip. And Brienne still doesn't have very much face paint in her cheeks. So even though these dolls are from the same year, there still is some differences, but you can still tell they're from the same time period. Or at least I can, because I spend a lot of time looking at Maplelea dolls. I wanted to also show my 2010-10 Taran doll next to my 2009-7 Jenna doll, because you can tell that they are from similar times. So they both have glossy lips that have similar colors to each other, and they have similar blush on their cheeks, and Jenna does have freckles. So even if a doll is different characters, you can still tell there are from similar time periods. I also wanted to show a comparison with the different face molds, or some of the different face molds that Maplelea dolls can have. Now, I don't even have close to all of the Maplelea face molds they have ever created, especially when you consider the Maplelea Friends or the Maplelea and Me line, because there's plenty of different face molds in that line. But I wanted to show you the doll in the blue, which is a Sila. She is from 2017-6. We have a Maplelea Friend that has a wig. She's re-wigged. She's a thrift store find, so I had to give her a new wig. So the wig is not lined up with a doll that was from Maplelea. But she is a 2016-1, so she was the first version of her character. And then we have a Maplelea Friend number 3, and she is from 2012-1, so she's a first edition of her version or her character of the doll. Then we have a 2007-4 Brienne doll. So Brienne, which is the doll in the pink and white lace dress, Brienne at the end there, she has the classic Maplelea face mold that the four characters, the four original characters, Brienne, Taran, Jenna, and Alexi have. And the two dolls in the middle are Maplelea friends, so they have different face molds, and there's lots of variation of face molds in the Maplelea friends line, also known as Maplelea and Me now. And Sila has her own unique face mold, and Leoni, who I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, has her own unique face mold as well. However, that face mold has changed over time, lots of times, and definitely, in my opinion, I see the most changes in the Leoni dolls, so that's why I started this video with my comparison between my two Leoni dolls, but there's definitely a range of difference in those dolls. There's a lot of difference between the Maplelea friends or the Maplelea and Me characters. The doll with the red dress and the white apron is a Maplelea friend 3, and she is from 2012. She is the first batch, so she's a 2012-1, and she is a first edition of her doll or her character, and she is one of the older Maplelea friend dolls, like a first edition Maplelea friend doll. And the other doll with the curly hair is a Maplelea friend 28, and she is a 2016-1, meaning that even though she's a Maplelea friend, she's the first generation of that version of a Maplelea friend. And as you can tell, there is differences between these two dolls. First off, they have different face molds. The Maplelea friend 3, has more of a square face, if I had to put a shape to it, and the Maplelea friend 28 has more of a rounder, oval type face, but it isn't the exact same face mold as a classic face mold with, you know, Brienne or Taran or Alexi or Jenna. So it does look closer to the more classic face mold, but it's still different, and you can tell there's a difference there. And as you can see, she has brown eyes. She's from 2016, and they haven't turned red. So that defect with the brown eyes, and even this doll, the 2012 doll, wearing the red there, she also has brown eyes, and they haven't turned red over time. So they have fixed that defect, and they fixed it fairly early on or earlier, so I definitely wouldn't worry about that ordering a new Maplelea doll. I also wanted to compare the oldest Maplelea doll I have in my collection with my newest Maplelea doll I have in my collection. So the doll with the black hair and the hat, she is a 2005-2 Alexi doll, meaning that she is a second generation Alexi doll and is the closest thing I have to a very first generation of the first original 4 characters. I would love to have a very first edition of either Brienne, Taran, Alexi, or Jenna. I would prefer Taran because Taran was my first 18-inch doll ever. But I would be happy with any very first edition of the very first Maplelea characters. But you can tell some differences. Alexi has rounder eyes. I really love her eyes. They're such a beautiful color, and they're so round and beautiful. She almost looks like a cartoon. Like, she is beautiful. I love this doll, and I'm very happy that she's in my collection. She is very stunning. And in comparison with the new Leoni, she does look more cartoon-like in her eyes. I genuinely think that Maplelea dolls have a more realistic look to them, which is not something you see too often with dolls. A lot of doll companies do a cartoon look. If you think of like Bratz, Rainbow High, Monster High, even, like, there's very cartoon-like dolls. But if you want a doll that looks realistic, I highly would recommend Maplelea dolls. And I feel that same way about their clothes as well. Their clothes are very realistic to what children actually wear and not cartoon versions. So I wanted to show the difference between my second generation Alexi, my first generation Leoni, and my first generation Sila doll. So you can see the differences. So between the Alexi doll and the Leoni doll, they have those round eyes, very cartoon-like. Sila is quite unique because she is her own unique face mold. She is from 2011, so you can definitely see more of a generational thing with the dolls from that time. And you know what? I'm going to show my 2010 Taran beside her as well, so you can see the similarities between the generations there. So I also came up with the idea of showing my 2009 Jenna, my 2010 Taran, and my first generation 2011 Sila doll, because when you put them together, you can tell that they come from around the same time period, the same around the same years. And you can tell that through their face paint and their makeup. And they just have this look that they all came from a similar time, even in the way their eyes look. I was actually taking a photo for the thumbnail of this YouTube video, and I lined up all the dolls together, and I thought, you know what, let's include this in the video too. So I just lined them up from the oldest Maplelea doll that I have in my collection to my newest generation of Maplelea doll that I have in my collection. So we have Alexi 2005-2, we have Taran 2007-6, then we have Brienne 2007-4, Leoni 2008-1, we have Jenna 2009-7, I believe, 2010-10 Taran, then we have Sila 2011-1, first generation, 2012-1, first generation Maplelea Friend 3. We have first generation 2006-1 Maplelea Friend 28. Then we have Sila 2017-6, I believe. Then we have 2022-17 Leoni. So let's just do an overview again of what all the dolls look like if you compare the face mold. So I wanted to finish off this video by sharing the last possible combination I can think of, and that is comparing my Alexi doll to my Brienne doll. So both of these dolls have the more classic face mold, and Alexi is from 2005, and she is a 2005-2, and my Brienne is a 2007-4. You can see differences in their face molds over time, especially between the 2005 doll and the 2007 doll, but you can see they are the same face mold. I wanted to say that there isn't official names for the different Maplelea face molds, not as set as American Girl or other doll brands. And as far as I know, nobody has compiled a list of all the different face molds that Maplelea dolls can have. And there's plenty out there. And I definitely don't own every single version of Maplelea dolls that have existed. I don't even own all the characters yet. So this video might feel a little incomplete because I didn't cover every possible combination or generation, but I thought I would show this video to give you a sense that there is a difference between different generations and years of Maplelea dolls. If you did like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up or share, or, well, the big thing is subscribing, because that way you get notified when I have new uploads. I also post on my Instagram, so make sure to follow me over there for more photos of my dolls over there. And if you have any questions, leave it down below and I will try to get back to you. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.